The best teams in sports always make the right decisions. New England Patriots hired Bill Belichick, then drafted Tom Brady, then added Rob Gronkowski, and the list goes on. Other sports teams always make the wrong coaching hires, the wrong trades, the wrong draft selections, and so on. These teams don't need to be named, or do they? Actually, they do, because some of those awful teams don't get enough credit when they finally do make some great calls. I'm Justin Fraction, and today we present 10 times the worst teams made great decisions. And a big shout out to Pendelroy 100 for suggesting this list. We do hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do, feel free to click subscribe down below for more cool videos every single day. Number 10, Los Angeles Rams firing Jeff Fisher. The master of 7-win seasons was given a 2-year extension during a miserable 2016 Rams campaign. 8 days later, the Rams fired Jeff Fisher. Good thing these longtime losers realize that 7-win seasons don't usually lead to Super Bowls. Number 9, Toronto Maple Leafs 2015-16 fire sale. The Maple Leafs made the playoffs in 2013, seemingly ready to begin a new era of dominance. Then they collapsed late in the 2014-15 season. Instead of doing the traditional expensive buying of top free agents, the Maple Leafs went another direction. They traded away perennial 30-goal scorer Phil Kessel. They hired the league's best head coach in Mike Babcock. They traded away captain Dion Phaneuf. Next thing you know, Toronto tanks and drafts generational prospect Austin Matthews. Now that this team is equipped with so many young stars, you gotta credit them for simply hosting a fire sale. Not an easy thing to do in hockey's most demanding market. Number 8, New York Knicks trading for Carmelo Anthony. After spending nearly a decade as one of basketball's absolute worst teams, the Knicks finally had enough. In 2011, they made a blockbuster deal that brought over one of the NBA's top scorers, Carmelo Anthony. Melo took the Knicks to the playoffs in 2011, 12, and 13. He brought back some glorious basketball for a die-hard fan base that saw so much awfulness. Anthony averaged over 20 points per game in each season with the Knicks. This really bad team made one great trade, credit where it's due. Number 7, New York Jets signing Curtis Martin. After Curtis Martin racked up 32 touchdowns in 3 years with the New England Patriots, the New York Jets were bent on stealing him from their arch rivals. They signed him to a 6-year deal worth $36 million. The Patriots got 2 draft picks in return. Meanwhile, Martin took the Jets to the playoffs 4 times. He hit at least 1,000 rushing yards every year except for his final season. He's the franchise's all-time leader in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns, with 10,302 and 58 respectively. Number 6, Vancouver Canucks drafting Swedish twins.
Twins, Basil, twins.
The Vancouver Canucks were awful in the late 90s. Heading into the 1999 NHL draft, their general manager Brian Burke had the chance to find one future franchise player. He wanted 2, though. He managed to land both the 2nd and 3rd overall picks. He took Swedish twins Daniel and Henrik Sedin. Nearly 2 decades later, and they each have a scoring title to their names. They're the top 2 scorers in Canucks history, and they turned the team into a perennial Stanley Cup contender. They also led the Canucks to an appearance in the 2011 Stanley Cup Final. At least this really bad NHL team used to be good, and that's because Burke made a great decision to draft both of them. Number 5, New Jersey Nets trading for Jason Kidd. After winning just 26 games in 2001, the Nets decided it was time to win again, so they traded for Phoenix Suns star point guard Jason Kidd. Boom, next thing you know, the Nets are the 2002 and 3 Eastern Conference champions. They made the playoffs with Kidd every year from 2002 to 7. He transformed this roster into one of the NBA's best, alongside Richard Jefferson and Vince Carter. They may not have won a championship and all, but the Nets were a force for half a decade after being miserable for nearly 20 years. Number 4, San Diego Padres acquiring Trevor Hoffman. Well, the Padres haven't been good at baseball for a long time, but they made a trade for the ages way back in 1993. They traded away slugger Gary Sheffield and another player for Trevor Hoffman and 2 prospects. Hoffman became one of the greatest closers in history. He was a 6-time All-Star in San Diego and led the National League in saves twice. Hoffman led San Diego to the 1998 World Series, though they fell to the New York Yankees. He ranked 2nd all-time in saves with 601. Quite the decision by the Padres to trade for him. Number 3, Cleveland Browns nabbing Bernie KOSAR. KOSAR expressed his desire to be a Cleveland Brown, so they traded away 3 draft picks to the Buffalo Bills to secure the top selection in the 1985 supplemental draft. KOSAR became the franchise quarterback Cleveland was looking for. He took them to the playoffs 5 times, including trips to the 1986, 87, and 89 AFC Championship games. Each of those resulted in a loss to the Denver Broncos, however. KOSAR's 21,904 passing yards are the 3rd most in Browns history. Even though everyone makes fun of this team, and rightfully so, they made one heck of a deal over 3 decades ago. Number 2, Denver Nuggets getting Alex English. English had 2 sensational seasons with the Indiana Pacers, and the Denver Nuggets made a great decision and traded away fading star George McGinnis for English's services. English then became one of basketball's most dynamic scorers. He led the NBA in scoring during the 82-83 season, averaging 28.4 points per game. English also led Denver to the playoffs every year from 1982 to 1990. In total, English averaged at least 25 points per game in 8 seasons with the Nuggets, and they barely had to give anything up for him. And number 1, Buffalo Bills getting Jim Kelly. The Bills drafted Tom KOSAR first overall in 1979. Then he decided to take his talents to the Great White North. The Bills eventually traded him to the Cleveland Browns for 3 draft selections. One of those selections was the 14th pick in 1983. They used that pick to draft quarterback Jim Kelly, and they wouldn't regret it. Kelly infamously led the Bills to 4 straight Super Bowl appearances in the 90s. Yes, they lost all of them, but making 4 Super Bowls is really, really cool. He's the Bills' all-time leader in virtually every meaningful quarterback stat. Kelly made the Bills a force to be reckoned with in the AFC for a decade. Without his talents, the Bills would literally be a franchise with nothing. One of their terrible sports teams made great decisions. Join us in the comment section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps us out a ton and we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to Total Pro Sports though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.